Thrive Talk. Real candid conversations about what it takes to live, work, and play on your own Thrive Talk. I literally jump for joy to both inspire and energize you to act on your own creative endeavors. Together, let's have a blast and Thrive Talk. Thrive Talk. Thrive Talk. I just love Thrive Talk.
Oh, we're back. We're back for another episode of Thrive Talk. While Noah's making a snack, it's Thrive Talk.
He's not making a snack, he's making his lunch.
He's making lunch. I'm sorry, I wasn't correct. All right. We are recording. All right. So, hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're at episode 4. Can you believe this is 4 already episodes of Thrive Talk? Whoop, 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 whoop.
I can believe it because I've done them all with
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there's that. I am your producer slash...
badass?
Okay, I'll take badass. Producer slash badass of this here program. This program. Last time we started the conversation about time and time management and how important that is for establishing your kind of vision and goals. Today we're going to extend that conversation. Jenn Oken, 2 N's Oken. What are we talking about today on time?
Well, we do talk about a lot about time management out there in the solopreneur kind of realm of things when you're going and doing things on your own, and how much value we place on ourselves. If we spend a lot of time and work hard on something, it's more valuable. And we touched last time that it's not always the case. I'm very effective and efficient with my processes. I can do things very fast. And produce a great quality. You just have to find that balance for yourself. But, I've also used time and money as good excuses to hold me back from things. I don't have enough time, so I've said no to things because I felt overwhelmed. And we also touched on last time the journaling and how that can kind of center us in different ways of meditating can center us on all of that. So the idea of, making space for both your values and purpose and spending time on that, so that we aren't like spending our time doing things because we're trying to find and seek out value and worth. So if we make a space for our values and our purpose, and we cultivate and harness that, the time we spend on things is going to be valuable no matter what it is we're doing. I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough money to do it. That has held me back from doing a lot of creative things in my lifetime. And
so many of us, yes.
And it's because by saying yes to it, it didn't fit into, it's not valued enough. If I said yes to, for example, going on a trip where, I might not be making money, but I might be taking pictures of something very, very, very cool, and I've said no to some things that are that could have easily been a part of a project that I have called Left As Is, where I didn't have time to go and photograph an abandoned building. Yeah. Because
nobody's paying for you to photograph an abandoned building.
But being there and doing it would have cultivated some creativity, would have done, I would have networked with the person there that was taking me around, that kind of thing. So it was kind of kick myself in the side because it went along with my values. But it didn't go along with making money or having the time to do it.
You know what's so funny is the thought that comes into my mind right now is about how within our school system, they have really devalued creativity and the arts and arts programs because, when they're doing the numbers, they got to get, X, Y, and Z taken care of. But there have been so many studies to show that exercising the creative brain helps you in all areas of study, not just, in painting. Like learning that skill enhances other areas of your mind.
One of the things that I feel really came out during the 2020 pandemic is how valuable creative minds and creative jobs and creatives, like You know, and the other thing I realized is that's something you're never going to computerize. You're never going to, the mechanics of being creative is all from within.
Right.
That you can't, I mean, yeah, we have a 3D printer and we have that kind of stuff, but it still takes the manipulation of the hands-on mind.
Somebody had to create the 3D printer, though. So
Right.
somebody had to get creative enough to want to try to create, to build that.
You know, and it's just like my camera is like, the somebody holding the camera and pointing it with the exact same camera and lens is gonna take a different picture than I am,
right,
with the same setup. You know, same with podcasts. Like, our podcasts are not all created equal. There's gonna be expectations, you know, and this is one thing we kind of talked about is before this podcast recording is, you know, I have this anxiety of, am I providing good enough information for people out there? And your anxiety is, are you gonna, and I thought this was awesome feedback, are you gonna provide what I need so the same thing doesn't happen that happened in 2018 where I got burnt out from doing a podcast?
Right.
I think I just only did 4 episodes, and here we are on the
really?
4th episode.
Wow.
My concept behind time and time management is, by doing this podcast, I'm stepping away from, but I'm still doing something creative, and it's building my creativity. It's building on the ability to be able to take great pictures, because am not completely obsessed and focused on nothing but my JOP or the angst of trying to get deadlines done. It's such a mindset.
You said JOP, just to make clear
Oh,
for the
thank
people
you.
who may not know what that means. She didn't just spell it wrong. She's maybe a little dyslexic, but not that much. She means Jenn Oken Photography.
Yes.
Is JOP and not JOB, which is what it kind of seemed like you might have been saying. My JOB. Same
JOP
thing.
is my JOB.
It's her JOB. So.
It is my JOB. And, you know, getting to a point where, you know, I've always been a photographer as my career choice. You know, and I can remember being a young business owner and just flowing through the anxiety and over promising but you know, I realized I was over promising, so it made it perceived that I was working hard, which gave me more value.
Let's dig into that a little bit. Please let me grab a spoon, because we are about to dig on into that.
Right?
Yeah, so over promising. I think that is really big, because I know that I am guilty of it. I think we are probably all guilty of it. Of even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're working at your regular, you know,
well, why do you think,
not regular, but if you are working at a more standard 40-hour a week type job,
9 to 5 structure.
Yeah, over promising. Let's talk about that.
Well, why do you think that we do over promise? Do you have any insight on that?
I think a lot of the times value is just a crazy thing to think about in general. Like, I mean,
value is so much more than just money.
Right.
Your time, your energy, your health,
and that's
your family. That's all values.
That's what you've been really helping me to shift my mindset in thinking of that in terms of being more than just money, because I tend to think of things in terms of just money,
exchange,
and then you don't really put a full value on it.
Yeah, I give you this amount of time and I produce this and it's worth this.
Right.
Only that number coming back to you, what you're getting paid for, or with energy or with monetary value, that has to take into consideration all the other things that you hold valuable.
Yeah.
Am I taking away from family time? Am I taking away from time that I need for self-care?
That is not the American way. It's all money. That's it. That's all we think about.
And it's and saying yes is that need for validation, is that need for approval, saying yes to something, no matter like for me, I was undercutting myself, my time and my energy. And I realized very quickly that I wasn't going to be sustainable, because wasn't taking into a factor keeping the lights on, but also to spend money on the electric. I had to spend money on the office rent. I had to spend money on material, but I wasn't putting, or maybe just a little bit more for the time and energy and experience that I was bringing to the table as being a photographer or being a graphic designer or something like that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you have to check in and ask yourself, am I a person that needs or deserves more for what I'm doing? And sometimes your clients will tell you, which is really nice. I think I've told you.
She's literally, you're not charging me enough money. And I'm like, I will happily charge you more money, but actually I wouldn't, because it's it's still hard to do. Even when they tell you, you need to be charging me more.
It is.
Like, no,
it is so
fine.
difficult. It's a compliment, but it's also, it's like, it's a reflection on your own self-value and your own self-worth, which is why doing that self-care is so important. And I gotta give it to the younger generation. They are a little bit more in tune with how valuable they are.
Don't you dare give that to them. We gave that to them. Stop it. They just got it earlier than us, the message. We had to figure it out, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right.
But they are taking the lessons. Yes.
They are taking them and running with them. And I gotta tell you, it comes across as a bunch of different, like, arrogance, or they don't really know. They have to work harder. They have to prove themselves. Like, no, they don't. No. If you know, and I encourage people to do whatever it takes to step into your own power.
Yes.
And to know your worth and know your value, and you be your advocate, because you are the only person accountable for yourself. You're the only person you are the only person you're going to be with for your entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I use, one little kind of exercise, actually two different ones, but it's kind of the same concept, is when I find myself second guessing my value, or second guessing what I'm worth, or just waffling on things, I'm like, okay, are you're worth more than this. And I think about that little girl that had the big dreams and never, thought that she could do anything she wanted. And I don't want to squash that little girl's dreams.
Yeah.
Like, as a mature woman, as a maternal woman, as somebody, I would never, if a 12-year-old came to me about wanting to take pictures, I would tell them that they could do anything they wanted.
Yeah.
So why do we tell ourselves that we can't?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can.
Yeah.
There might be obstacles and experiences, but those are all there for us to evolve and grow from.
Yeah.
I am a grass is greener, or seeing the green of the situation, I should say, not a grass.
Yeah.
I got too confused there for a second.
You're mixing your metaphors.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Story of my life there.
Well, you know what's really funny is to talk about the gym some more, because we do that quite a bit.
High five to us.
One day we were having a conversation at the gym, and we were talking about the podcast, and we were talking about pricing. And you mentioned that was something you wanted to do last. And I thought to myself, but that's the thing everybody wants to know. I think in this conversation right now, it just clicked into my head as to why pricing is last. And let me run this by you and see if this makes sense.
Okay.
But all of the things that we've talked about so far, you really cannot start defining your pricing until you've done this work that you've talked about so far. So, I mean, the very first thing you mentioned was your team, defining your team. And you did that so that people would know, this isn't just me. There's lots of people. Don't just look at what somebody else who's already established is doing and set that as your benchmark, because you're going to fail right there if you don't realize
it's that comparing thing. Yeah.
It's that comparing thing. So that's step one. Don't compare yourself to everybody else. And then each step that we've taken since then has really been about defining, who you are, what your goals are, what your boundaries are, and all these things, because you can't define your price and your value until you've done all that work.
Yeah, you have to believe it in yourself.
Right.
And these lean in exercises that are inspiring this first season is very much guiding you through the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, so that you bring your full value potential to the plate for yourself.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it's going to spread to everybody else.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Like
clicked in my head. Just went, oh, I get it now.
So we have to be in our own right very grateful for who we are and what we can bring to the table, especially when we enjoy doing it or we enjoy being of service to people. I mean, being of service to somebody is probably one of the most rewarding things you can ever do. So when you're in a job that's providing a service, you know, just because it's wonderful and rewarding and it's full of purpose and you're inspiring other people to do something, doesn't mean, and you love this, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be paid for it because you're enjoying it so much. You actually need to be being paid more for it.
That's true. And that's to go back to this generation. I am so stoked about this revolution that's happening within the working force, where people are starting to say, no, I'm worth more than that. And this
it's what it's going to do. And it's hard to get everybody on board with this,
right.
But what it's going to do is when somebody is more demanding of their worth, that not only are they going to give a better product or job or service, the people receiving it is going to find more value there.
Right.
But we're all going to come up together. Mm-hmm. The one thing, when I moved from Chicago and started my business in Baton Rouge as a photographer, I didn't do market research because I wanted to be in competition with people.
Right.
I didn't want to bottom feed the other photographers that were on the same level as I was.
Yeah.
There is a reason why, like, we are the reason, I should say, that sets the industry standard.
Right.
And we, as you know, as cost of living goes up, as things evolve, as we become better at our craft, like there's all sorts of little scenarios that affect it, but we all have to be rising up. That's one of the reasons why I'm very okay with my second shooters and my mentors using their pictures that they photograph under my name in their portfolios and stuff. They're there to build their confidence and what that's going to do is that's going to keep them from bottom feeding and getting jobs because of their price. Instead, they're getting jobs because of their expertise,
their value.
Yeah. And I'm helping support raise value. That's what I'm doing with Thrive Talk.
Right.
I want to help support and raise your value and how you feel about yourself, because everybody's going to win. You're going to produce better quality products, services. People are going to believe and find more value in you.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to make the space, do the work that is going to bring confidence and empower yourself.
Yeah.
I'm here to inspire and empower other people, but at the end of the day, the only person that is really responsible for it is you.
Yeah.
And I can help guide you through it. In fact, we can talk about, different ways to do it that works best for you. That's clutch. That was clutch for me. I would go online and find these 1, 2, 3 step processes or even concepts. And I was like, man, that really did work for them. What's wrong with me? What's missing in me because it doesn't work for me?
Right.
But then I manipulated it and I understood that the way it happens is just the way it happens for me is different than what it's doing for them. But I'm like taking bits and pieces out. And that's what I want my products and my my lessons and my focus journals and my tear sheets. I want all of those. They're presented in such a way that I hope that you can customize it into what works for you.
And to bring it all the way back around to where we started this conversation off, even before we started the conversation, is you mentioned you're thinking about your anxiety of, am I giving people what they need? I'm thinking about my anxiety of, am I giving Jenn what she needs? And at the end of the day, neither one of us can define that, because what people are going to get from this is going to be based on their own unique individual experience. What you're going to get out of this is not something that I can sit there and go, do you feel satisfied? I can't give you a check sheet and make you feel like you've gotten what you needed to get. No, all we can do is go through the process and see what happens.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, my mindset after being in a fluid, more focused flow of life and creatively, choosing to be more intentional about my purpose and my values and allowing those as guideposts, which is what I teach in the lean in exercises specifically, that no matter, Sam, because I'm in a totally different mindset than I was in 2018 when I first started a podcast, no matter what you give to me is exactly what I need. And whatever we experience, whatever feedback you give us, we are going to take that and we are going to utilize it, and we're going to make something better. We're always going to be evolving and growing better. I'm just not going to have it any other way. And I want to teach other people how to be in that space for themselves.
I love it. You said I'm the badass, but actually, my dear, you're the badass.
I think we kind of both make it happen, Captain.
It happened. And unfortunately, I think that's in the area of the dead zone between the two cameras.
That's so good.
Is that how that's going to be? Okay, that's interesting.
The one thing that I did, in 2018 is I had to have everything in place. And I was comparing myself to other online.
You're doing your impersonation.
Right. Of other people that I was thinking I had to have it all together, and I was trying to populate a YouTube channel. I didn't even do LinkedIn. Now I have a LinkedIn, but I'm not populating that stuff now. It's kind of getting in my mind. I'm getting inspired to start doing that. But instead of being, putting a lot of pressure on myself and trying to spend a lot of time doing that, I'm allowing it to happen more organically, and I'm setting myself up for success. So it's all very, 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 very organic. And
I love it.
It doesn't scare me anymore.
Yes. Woof. 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 I love it. Well, the next one will be the official over the expansion line, I guess. Yeah. And if you have enjoyed all of the playtime with the dogs, and great. And if you didn't, well, then you're in the wrong place.
I know, right? We just can't not have them. They're pretty grounding in all their annoyance.
Yeah. If you're a cat person, I'm so sorry.
No.
We have no cats here.
We don't.
No. All right, Miss Double N Oaken. That is my new nickname for you.
Double N.
Double N Oaken. I have really enjoyed our chat today. Thank you so much for being you, the wonderful you that you are.
Oh, thanks, Sam. I really appreciate your the way that you hone in on what it is we're talking about. You really make it a lot more organic than I could ever do this just by myself.
Oh, thanks so much. I
we're a good team.
We are. One more high five.
And my foot has totally fallen asleep, so I cannot move my foot.
All right. Well, very good. Let's hope she doesn't fall, you guys. All right. Well, we'll see you next week, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Peace, people.
The music you hear was created by Cindy Wonderful. To access free resources, log on to Jenn Oaken's website at JENNOCKEN.com. If you found value from this episode, tell a friend. And if you have a moment, leave us a review. Tell us what you think.